grab your controllers. It's time for the Horizon Chase Turbo review. As usual, I'm going to start with the big pros and cons and work my way down to I'm going to give you the score up front. Then I'm going to go from the big pros and cons to the little ones. And finally, I'm going to go over the replay value and what I think the game is actually worth in dollars. So, Horizon Chase Turbo, basic, arcadey, old school racing game. Very much emulating games like Top Gear or Outrun. This game basically has your gas, your brakes, nitros. You can pick up gas canisters and nitros as you go. I personally think it's amazing. 9 out of 10. This game is my favorite racing game since at least Excite Truck on the Nintendo Wii. It is largely because the game just captures that old school racing game feel perfectly. It has a sense of speed with the objects on the side of the road scaling faster than they should by a little bit, so they're whipping by. The 2D graphics, I mean, they're three-dimensional, but they give everything sort of a 2D look that just matches those old school games really well. It feels like someone brought Top Gear into an HD modern game system. And I love the sense of speed in particular. It is the fastest, most fun racing game I've played in that sense since F-Zero, even though it's not trying to be an F-Zero. Not as 3D as F-Zero X or F-Zero GX, obviously, but I really find this game's got the goods in terms of all of its feel. And that's the main thing. But it also happens to have excellent content. For an inexpensive indie game, you've got roughly 40 cars, nothing special by today's standards, but if you look at the games this is trying to emulate, you got 4 cars back in the Top Gear days. I mentioned Sega's Outrun. There is 1 car in Outrun, right? Even in the mid-90s, 40 cars would have been a pretty good deal. It was as games like mainly Sony's Gran Turismo became popular that we started to expect hundreds of cars. And really, it's not a simulation. You're not going to get unique, like a very particular feel for each car. They'll have different stats, as you can see. But the important thing here is you've got a cool mix of sports cars, supercars, muscle cars, and gimmick cars like the Volkswagen Beetle or the Mini, which I love. So it's very cool in that respect. There's also 100 tracks. Are all of them winners? No, but most of them are, and that's a good number of tracks, even by AAA standards, I would say. Number 3 in a list of all pros so far, the game has an amazing soundtrack. They brought back the composer from Top Gear to do it. I think his name is Barry Leach. And he reprises the Top Gear theme, but also provides like at least a dozen, maybe 30 or 40 new songs that they all have kind of an electronic feel with electric guitar, accents, but just really fast, really energetic. It makes me feel, it makes me want to go fast. And that's what a racing game soundtrack should do. I mentioned this is my favorite racing game in years. It's also my favorite racing game soundtrack since at least the GameCube, where I'd be looking at maybe F-Zero GX or there was an Extreme G game on that system that had a pretty good soundtrack for racing too. Heads up to the recent Forza. I think it's Forza 5 or 6 that I've been playing on Xbox. It has a pretty good one too. That's more epic than high energy. So there are a couple of cons. This game isn't quite a 10 out of 10, and the thing that got to me was the glitches. I don't have good footage of them, but there are a couple of little glitches that just prevent the game from reaching that 10 out of 10 category. I will describe them quickly. One is, every once in a while, maybe 1 in 5 races, the action will just stop for a fraction of a second. It doesn't ruin the race, but it really takes you out of the zone, and this is a fast, intense, in-the-zone game. You will notice when that happens. but it's not game breaking or anything. There's another one where if you get a chain of cars all going really fast, probably all doing nitros, and they crash into each other, everything comes to a grinding halt. So they maybe weren't quite, the developers maybe didn't quite get the feel of a big pile up right. It doesn't happen very often, and it tends to happen more as you get later in the game and have more and more upgrades so your car can move fast. So if you've got a small track, especially in playground mode, they might give out some extra nitros. You may see this happen a few times. Again, not game ending or anything. It only happens on certain tracks at certain times. That is not the glitch. But they are worth mentioning. These are the reason that personally I don't give the game a full 10 out of 10. There's also no online racing, which for some people this is absolutely going to be even bigger than the glitches I mentioned. Personally, they've got leaderboards, top 50 worldwide plus friends for every track, and you can pick any one of those to be a ghost competitor. For my tastes, that is enough online. But I get it. This will be even bigger for some people than what I just complained about with the little glitches. So in the unfinished business category, we have a couple of other little things I wanted to mention. The game has a nice mix of modes overall. You've got playground mode, which comes up every couple of weeks with a mix and match of different tracks, different rules. Maybe they'll give you extra nitros or start you without enough gas, so you've got to really look out for the fuel canisters. That really keeps the game fresh. They've also got sort of a standard tournament mode, a world tour where you can just pick race by race. But no time trial modes. I found that pretty unusual. It doesn't kill the game by any means, though. So for replay value, I have about 30 hours, actually now 40 hours in. I haven't finished the hardest tournament, and I haven't touched endurance mode at all. That's still true. But I'm getting close to finishing the hardest tournament. So there's a lot of content in here. The replay value is also incredible. I mean, racing games generally have good replay value, but playground mode is a nice addition. The game is just so fast, it's really easy to just jump in and do a couple of races. Although it is a very challenging, intense game, if you have kids around or puppies, you may have some trouble. You may need to find some focus time to really progress in this game. Still, on the whole, I've got 40 hours in, and I could see myself easily getting 50, 60, and replaying in the future. So to wrap up the dollar value on this game, I would give it $45 Canadian, which is roughly 37 USD, which is actually way above the price on this game. The actual retail is $25.19 or $20 US. There are sales fairly frequently, so it might be worth it to wait for a sale. But as I was thinking about it, I thought, this really is my favorite racing game in years, and there's enough content here to justify paying a price that's, up there with lower end AAA games or discounted AAA games. Since they've set the price where they did, I probably wouldn't be eager to go and pay that much even for a sequel. But, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it at full price today, and if there is a good sequel out, I will check that one out for sure too. If you love arcade racing games, I suggest you check this one out as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again next time.